Hey everyone, I'm Lillian Leon and I'm the Online Marketing Rookie, and here I have a Mr. Simon Young. Simon is an award-winning journalist, entrepreneur and social media consultant and an all-round nice guy. And quite well known in New Zealand in the social media scene. We're very well networked, and so today I'm going to interview him and ask him a few questions, and hopefully he can enlighten us about some things about social media.
Cool.
All right with that, Simon?
All good, yeah, sounds good.
Let's do it. Okay, so, like me, Simon, you started as a copywriter and a journalist. And you did that quite successfully. So what got you into getting into social media? If you can tell us about that.
It kind of came and got me. Back in 2004, I wrote a cover story about blogging, corporate blogging for companies, which in turn got the attention of a conference company, and then they approached me to speak about blogging. And it's one of those sort of self-fulfilling prophecies that if somebody thinks you know about something, you've got to then come up to their expectations. And it was actually a genuinely interesting topic. So I really wanted to know more about how marketing was changing.
Yeah.
And so going from journalist to consultant was sort of a natural thing.
Right.
As you know, I'd be writing for publications like Marketing Magazine, but then I'd also get private clients coming and saying, "Can you give us a report on the future of X industry?" You know, because you seem to be interested in this future stuff, the social media stuff.
Right. So yeah, because back in those days it was quite new, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Social media.
Yeah.
So how did you research it in that, or did you just actually try
it was
it
actually
yourself?
really easy to research. It was just that not many other people knew that it was there. So I mean, blogs have been around since 1999. So I was a relative latecomer. In 2004, there was already a pretty well-established blogosphere.
Yeah.
But once you sort of get into blogging and get into the sort of the networking of blogs,
Yes.
it's not just a single blog standing alone, but instead it's like a community, and that's really what I started to discover.
Right.
And as a journalist, that became my secret sauce because other journalists didn't know about it.
Yeah. Right.
So I had all this knowledge just seemingly from nowhere.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's how you kind of got into it. And then how did you migrate into social media and then decide not to do the copywriting so much anymore?
That was sort of more in 2007 when we just started to get that much inquiry about social media and not so much about the copywriting.
Right.
Yeah, we just followed the market basically. Yeah.
Right. Oh, very interesting. So you're a pioneer in a way.
Yeah. Since before it was cool.
Yeah. It's still cool now, eh? It's great. Okay, no, that's great. Now, you are on quite a few social media channels. You're on Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, Google+. Any of the other standard ones?
Yes, so I've got a Pinterest, I've got a Tumblr. I've pretty much got everything. Whether I use it regularly is another thing.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that too.
Yeah.
Plus, you've got all the Chinese social media channels as well,
yeah.
because you're right into the Chinese space too.
Yes.
Oh yeah. There you
Serenity.
go. What does that say?
Serenity.
Serenity. See, I
Yes.
wouldn't know. Glad you told me. You sure it says that? Because I won't be able to tell you.
I've been told.
Okay, good. So how do you go about managing all these, and what's your most effective tool?
Yeah.
And why?
Yeah, the answer is sort of a consultant's answer, and it actually depends what I'm doing at the time. So sometimes Twitter will be great for knowledge gathering. You know, if I have a quick question and I want to put it out to the community, Twitter is great.
Yeah.
I use Facebook a lot just to learn what's happening in the world around me. So I've got a lot of friends in different countries around the world. If I want an alternative take on the news, I'll use Facebook for that. LinkedIn's obviously good for professional networking, and even again, using LinkedIn for like listening and getting an idea of what's happening is really powerful because you're getting a business focus.
Yes.
But I actually encourage people to be out there. There's kind of a myth that you have to overstructure and overmanage everything, and it doesn't look good when everything's not updated. But as long as something's being updated and the interconnections between them are working well, then that's fine to me. I haven't, we do strategies for clients, but for myself, I haven't had much of a particular strategy. It's just been really trying stuff out.
Right. So that you can learn, so that you can actually teach your clients.
Exactly.
Show your clients what to do.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's interesting, eh? I mean, I find that having all the different social media tools, I'm finding Facebook really difficult to use. Twitter's my favourite, obviously. and LinkedIn I'm just kind of dabbling in, but there's
Right,
just
yes.
not a lot of time.
Yes, it is.
And Google Plus is something I want to get into.
Yep.
But again, they all work so differently.
Totally.
Yeah. So how do you get up to speed with learning?
You've just got to set aside time. Yeah. So when something, and I'm behind on some things at the moment. I've bookmarked pages to go. Okay, I want to have a look at LinkedIn's new company pages, and I've still got to set aside time for that.
You do.
Yeah. And the best way around that is to set a time when you do the learning.
Yeah.
And it is a moving target, and it's not easy. There's not really an automated way to do it.
Yeah.
I think the only piece of advice is that marketing and human psychology pretty much always stays the same. It's just the technical tools that change. So
it's a good way to think about it.
If you know good marketing and good content, then you'll eventually be okay.
Right.
Yeah.
It's good to know.
Good to know.
It's great to know. Okay. Now, one of the biggest challenges that small businesses have is actually having time to actually be on social media and run their business as well.
Yes.
And I guess that's what you were just talking about now, a little bit of in terms of managing time.
Yes.
So
do you have
any
tips on that?
Yeah.
Well, again, sort of batching your time. So it's like
has that gone?
Doesn't seem to be responding. There we go.
There we go.
Edit that bit out.
Yeah.
So for time management on social networks, setting aside a time and not just a big chunk in the day, but sort of bits during the day.
Yes.
So saying, okay, in the morning for 15 minutes, we're going to put something out on Facebook. It's sort of breakfast, lunch, and dinner kind of thing. So batching what you're going to do. It is basically just making the time. And also, sometimes you won't see an immediate response, so it's hard. It's kind of an act of faith, putting that time aside.
Yes.
But then when you start to actually get connections happening, it starts to make more sense and becomes more natural.
But what I find is hard. What I find is really difficult is that it's so instantaneous.
Yes.
So you get, on Twitter, for example, you get people replying to you all the time, or retweeting, or talking to you, and on Facebook as well. And you kind of feel like that you have to get back to them straight away.
Yes.
Yeah. Is that?
I'd actually discourage that. For the purposes of sanity, it's really good to just set aside some time where you put the phone face down, turn everything off, basically, and just let yourself do the work, and then come back. And then it's quite satisfying to sort of check in and see how many people have sent you anything.
When you come back into it.
And I think it's just having the awareness that you can switch between those two modes. Yeah. Some people are just all or nothing.
It's really hard.
It is hard, And it is a mental discipline thing because... social media knows, well, the designers of Facebook and Twitter, that they know our pleasure centers in the brain, and they've designed, they've optimized it around giving us a little reward every time. So if we just go with their flow, we will be doing that all the time.
Right. Okay. So we've got to go against the grain.
Sometimes.
And stop ourselves.
Exactly.
It's pretty hard.
It is.
Now, I was just looking at your blog recently, and I listened to a podcast that you had, and you were talking about Generation C.
Yes.
It sounds very interesting. So it's not Generation X, Y, or Z. It's generation control, you were saying?
Yes. Yeah.
Can you just tell us a bit about that and how that might actually affect us in the future, in terms of being a business in the digital space?
Yeah, basically we talk about how Generation C is the first opt-in generation. Most generations you don't choose. You were just born in that year. This is not about the year you were born, but it's about the attitude that you adopt.
Yeah.
So there's digital natives who were born into a world where they controlled their own playlist. The idea of a radio station that has this very limited playlist is kind of foreign. They're like, well, I can have Metallica and then Mozart. But that's fine, and so young people tend towards that naturally, but people of any age are sort of opting into this as like, I can control my world. And other people have used the Generation C name, but they've talked about the expression of it, like Generation Content. It's all about creating content, or IBM are talking about Generation Connected. Those are like the symptoms, but the cause is this desire for control.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how would that affect us in the social media space? People being in social media.
Well, it changes marketing basically in that we are marketing with people, not marketing to them. Yes. In other words, we're helping them buy. We're not selling to them. We're not. The language of marketing is very military. So we're not launching a campaign at our target audience. having something launched at me, I'm going to run away.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's actually instead coming alongside people who are of a like mind and want to do something with you, and partnering with them.
So that's that whole connection thing, and that's why social media is so popular, because it's not about being sold to.
Yep.
They like to feel like they've got the control.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And sometimes it's debatable whether they actually have control, but it's the feeling of control is very important. Yeah.
That's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
And is there like a specific age group or anything like that, or is it?
Well, like I said, it tends towards the younger group.
Yeah.
You get some people in the older age group who like to be bossed around a little bit, but it is anybody can choose this mindset, and it's becoming increasingly prevalent.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. It's good for us to know that.
Yep.
Now, just finally, for all the rookies out there,
yep.
What would be your biggest takeaway in terms of being in the social media space for business?
Yes.
What would be your biggest advice?
Given what we just said about Generation C and control, I think my biggest advice is be yourself, because people can smell a fake a mile away.
Yeah.
I was watching, there's this movie called One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest.
Yes.
And it's a great movie. And the director was saying to the actors, the camera can see your eyes, so don't give me any bull,
Yeah.
be authentic. Yeah, and it's the same with social media. Whatever you're selling, whatever you're trying to persuade people to do, make sure you're convinced about it. And I haven't, like I said, I haven't had a particular strategy for myself, but I've had convictions about the things that I believe in. That gets conveyed.
And it comes through.
It gets conveyed through my written word. It gets conveyed when I do a video. So that's my takeaway is, be yourself, be real, and believe in something.
Well, there you have it. From Simon Young. Thank you very much, Simon. And I totally believe in that as well. I think be yourself is the best way to be, because people can see through it if you're not real. Thank you for listening, and we'll try and do another one in a little while. So thanks.
Awesome.
Bye.
Thank you.